one symbol, one prophecy. The sky burned. Rome did not fall that day, it was reborn. Can a single vision reshape the fate of an empire? In the shadow of Rome's crumbling order, two emperors wage a brutal game of thrones. Maxentius grips the eternal city with iron resolve, while in the misty north, Constantine rises, sharp, relentless, and hungry for power. Across a fractured empire, ambition festers, armies clash, and ancient gods begin to fall. But as the sky darkens and the drums of war echo through Italy, a strange light pierces the clouds, a burning cross, a whispered promise, a sign from the divine, or a trick of desperation. What if this fleeting vision was not madness, but destiny? This is the moment where power, faith, and blood will collide, and only one man will walk away with an empire. By the dawn of the 4th century, the Roman Empire was no longer the unshakable colossus of old. Decades of internal turmoil, political fragmentation, and external threats had fractured its vast territories. The once unified empire had been divided among multiple rulers, a system known as the Tetrarchy, intended to bring stability by sharing power between two Augusts and two Caesars. Yet instead of peace, this arrangement bred suspicion, rivalry, and open conflict. In this fractured world, two men stood on the brink of war: Maxentius, the self-declared emperor of Rome, and Constantine, a rising military leader with a claim to imperial blood. Maxentius ruled Rome with a volatile mix of force and fear, desperate to solidify his shaky grip on the city that remained the beating heart of the empire's fading glory. Meanwhile, Constantine had been proclaimed Augustus by his troops in the west, determined to reunite the empire under his banner. The political landscape was a powder keg. Maxentius, cut off from official recognition by the other emperors, built his power base by rallying the Roman Senate, the Praetorian Guard, and the city's population. His reign was marked by grand architectural projects meant to glorify his rule, but also by brutal suppression of opposition. Across the empire, loyalty was a fragile commodity, shifting with every battle and political maneuver. Meanwhile, Constantine was no stranger to warfare and strategy. Raised amidst the intrigues of imperial court life and trained in the art of war, he commanded legions with skill and charisma. His father, Constantius Chlorus, had been one of the original tetrarchs, but Constantine's own claim to the throne was tenuous. Recognized by some, but opposed by others, his ambition was clear: to unify the empire and end the chaos of divided rule. But beyond political rivalry, the empire was on the cusp of a profound transformation. The old Roman pantheon of gods was losing ground to new spiritual forces. Christianity, once persecuted, was gaining followers quietly, steadily. Constantine himself, influenced by mysterious visions and the promise of divine favor, was beginning to see a new symbol rising above the battlefield: the cross. The year 312 would mark the climax of this turbulent era. Constantine's army marched toward Rome, meeting Maxentius's forces at the Milvian Bridge, a gateway into the city and a crossroads of fate. The stakes could not have been higher. Victory meant supreme power. Defeat would be oblivion. In this clash, history would not only be decided by swords and shields, but by faith and belief. The vision of a cross in the sky, guiding Constantine's troops, would echo through the centuries as a turning point, a moment when an empire's destiny shifted, and the Christian symbol rose from persecution to imperial power. This was more than a battle for Rome. It was the dawn of a new era, where empire and faith intertwined, shaping the course of Western civilization forever. On the eve of this seismic shift, a restless night gripped the land as the heavens themselves seemed to whisper of the coming storm. It was the night before the battle. October 27th, 312 AD. The air around Constantine's camp outside Rome was thick with dread. His men, outnumbered and uncertain, whispered in low tones around the fires. They knew what awaited them across the Tiber, the Milvian Bridge, and beyond it, the fortified city held by Maxentius. A formidable enemy, a desperate tyrant, a last stand. As the sun faded, something happened that no general, no emperor, no soldier could have predicted. Constantine looked upward and saw a sign. It wasn't a bird or a star or a trick of shadow. It was a symbol, bright, radiant, seared across the heavens, a cross, a shape unknown to Roman military banners. Accompanying it, he would later claim, were the words, "In hoc signo vinces." In this sign, you shall conquer. To some, it was a miracle. To others, madness. But Constantine did not hesitate. That very night, he ordered his soldiers to paint a new symbol on their shields. Not the eagle of Rome, not the thunderbolt of Jupiter, but the Chi-Rho, an obscure Christian monogram formed by the first two letters of Christ's name in Greek. It was a direct challenge to centuries of Roman tradition and to the gods who had supposedly protected the empire for generations. For the first time in Roman history, a battle would be waged under the sign of a forbidden faith. This decision, this vision, became the fracture line of two worlds. Constantine, a man of ambition and steel, had staked not just his army, but his legacy on a symbol outlawed by emperors before him. A symbol drenched in martyrdom, carried in secret catacombs, whispered in the homes of the persecuted. He was no Christian, not yet. But something had shifted, deeply, irreversibly. With dawn approaching and tens of thousands of soldiers waiting to march, the banner of the old empire had given way to a new emblem, a quiet revolution unfurling in the shape of a cross. From this moment forward, Constantine would not only battle Maxentius for control of Rome, he would march under a god once hunted, once crucified, now rising. A new chapter in history had begun, one not written in marble, but in vision, in fire, and in faith. As dawn approached, the weight of that divine omen hung over the battlefield, heralding a collision that would redefine an empire. The morning of October 28th, 312 AD, with a biting chill. Around him, thousands of soldiers, silent and still, their shields now marked with a strange, sacred sign. Not the eagle of the legions, not the wolf of Rome, but the Chi-Rho, shimmering faintly in the half-light. The air was electric. Something